What is up, guys? Greedy Knight here with the Switchaxe guide. I'll be breaking down this morphing weapon's files, moveset, switch skills, and gear so you can play this weapon once the video is done. Let's get into it. Your draw attack is a side chop, which is the same as the second hit of your X combo. Forward plus X will perform your forward slashes. Your triple X combo will do a downward chop, side chop, and yeet chop. Your X plus A 2-hit combo will cut out the second hit for a similar combo. A is a stamina consuming infinite that will swing your axe left and right until you stop mashing or run out of stamina. ZR is your morph attack to sword mode. You have greater range, mobility, and more multi-hits in axe mode. Use axe mode against more mobile monsters. You have a triple X combo and a double A combo. You can micro position by inputting directions that angle yourself or scoot yourself forward in that direction. Pressing X plus A will perform your finishing discharges. For the default, just mash X to unleash your 11-hit explosion combo, or mash B to cancel. Hit ZR to morph to axe mode. You have less mobility and less range in exchange for superior damage. Morph to sword mode when the monster is vulnerable to unleash that burst damage. I think of sword mode as a mobile greatsword. Morph attacks can be performed after any attack by hitting ZR. The only exception is the finishing discharge, since it will always morph you back into axe mode after the recoil. You will want to focus on the playstyle that complements your Phial type and current matchup. Rapid morph is required for Switchaxe to reduce lag and increase your morph attack damage. While in axe mode or while your weapon is sheathed, your gauge will fill on its own as time passes. While in sword mode, you consume the gauge to perform sword attacks. If you run low or out of gauge, you will be forced to revert to axe mode. If you attempt to enter sword mode with low gauge, you will perform a forced reload animation that recharges your gauge and leave yourself vulnerable to attacks. You have to maintain your gauge throughout the hunt, so a healthy mix of axe and sword mode is recommended. The amp gauge is a highlighted blue bar that fills around the Switchaxe gauge with every sword mode hit. Once it's full, you will enter the amped state and your gauge will last for 45 seconds. All of your attacks will gain additional Phial burst explosions and your finishing discharge animations will be upgraded. Phial type matters because it determines how fast your gauge fills. Power takes the longest to fill, making it the worst amp state Phial type to use, while Dragon and Poison are the best for amp state gameplay. For this table, I tested using the Rampage Switchaxe equipped with each Phial type against Robo Tetranodon for these values. Since it keeps the non-Phial damage consistent, this is the best way to compare the differences between each Phial type. The set I used for these tests is listed in the armor section of the video. The reason we should focus on Phial types is because Phials buff your sword mode with a modifier and apply Phial explosions in amp state. Paralysis, Poison, and Exhaust apply their respective statuses and gain status Phial explosions while in amped state. Exhaust will apply KO if you hit the head, and Exhaust if you hit the body. Power receives a 15% increase to sword mode attacks with mid-range Phial damage in amped state. Element and Dragon have a 45% element increase in sword mode with Phial damage relying on hit zone values of the monster. Both scale with element up buffs. Power is favored as the universal Phial type due to its generic and solid damage, but Exhaust, Element, and Dragon have been buffed to justify running them against favorable matchups and support. Forward plus X will perform both forward slashes. Default forward slash is a quick but weak axe thrust that allows for safe approaches. Forward overhead slash is a copy of Charge Blade's axe chop. It covers a large distance and has good motion values. I prefer overhead slash because I'm a Charge Blade main. But one additional benefit is that if you morph out of it, you will perform a double slash instead of a single slash. Pressing X plus A will perform your finishing discharge. It is your default sword thrust with an 11-hit explosion combo. When you have amp gauge, you latch onto the monster, gain super armor, and unleash your guaranteed combo. Be careful when using this because you can get carded since you still take the damage. Compressed finishing discharge is a spin slash. It is quicker and therefore safer to use. It does less damage, but you can spam it. ZL plus X will perform Invincible Gambit. You morph into axe mode and perform a triple axe hit wirebug dash that grants you super armor. It is the only reason to use axe mode centric gameplay. With amp gauge, this move becomes your main source of damage since each hit dishes out cutting and Phial damage. In terms of matchups, it is useful for bulldozing through roars and attacks, just don't let your health drop too low. Costing 1 wire bug makes it relatively spammable. ZL plus X will perform Soaring Wyvern Blade. You morph into sword mode and uppercut the monster. Hit X to plant a Phial explosion on your hit, which applies damage based on your Phial type. This is for sword-centric gameplay since you can spam explosions and sword mode. It also costs 1 wire bug and recharges relatively fast compared to other Silkbind attacks. In my mind, it's just Axe Hopper without the Phial maintenance. Since Switchaxe doesn't have a dedicated defense option, you should only run this if you are confident in the matchup and your ability to abuse evade iframes. ZL plus A will perform Switch Charger. You wire bug dash forward and at the end of the dash, you will recharge your sword gauge. For 5 seconds, it will not decrease. Use this to bypass your lengthy gauge reload animation. It costs 1 wire bug. Note that you do not have super armor, so only use this to recharge or close distances. I will only recommend weapons that hit white sharpness with 1 point of handicraft or less for each Phial type. There are other options, but I don't use them. Rampage is the best general option to pick. You can customize your Switchaxe to match your playstyle and make any Phial type, element, and status combo. Mitsutune and Kushala are decent power Phials in the appropriate matchups. Valstrax is pretty much the only element weapon that hits white. Tigrex has high raw with white, but the -20 affinity will require a good talisman for crit upsets. Use Bishaten for dragon, and Nargacuga for poison. These are pretty much identical to my Charge Blade sets. I'm not trying to be lazy, it's just that the skill and slot distributions are optimized for both weapons. You get all of your damage and quality of life skills. If you've seen my past videos, the only difference is maxing out on Rapid Morph and swapping out Artillery for Power Prolonger. According to forums, Dragonheart does not negate Phial damage, so go nuts with that set, but I will be testing it on my own to verify it. Like if this video helped you learn how to play Switchaxe. Consider subscribing if you are new to the channel. Let me know which 2 Blade Master weapons you want me to cover down in the comments below. This time it's between Greatsword and Hammer. Expect a similar time frame for when that guide comes out, since I'm working now. I'll be posting the next 5 Charge Blade hunts in the following weeks. That's all I got for this one. Greedy Knight, signing out.